Hi, everybody. Welcome to Six Questions with Alana. That's me. And with us today, we have our lovely chair of dance department, Jen Curan. Hi, Jen. Yay. Back for more.
Always.
We're going to be talking about your dance for film work, The Other Side of the Glass.
Yes.
So, what was the creative process and inspiration for this work?
Our pack lobby. I don't know why. One day I was walking through and I was like, "Oh, this would make like the coolest film piece where
Yeah.
I can film from inside to outside and outside to inside and inside to out, like every different angle." And we have this cool corner
Yeah.
where glass meets glass essentially. And I was like, "Oh, it was just a really interesting looking piece
Yeah.
of perspective, film,
Yeah.
photo, whatever." And I was like, we can just pull everything out. We could do this. And then I was like, okay, well, what theme? I was like, what is the other side of the glass? What does that mean? And then I was like, ooh, what if it's this idea of dance feeling like it's a different world?
Hmm.
And so it was like when they're in the dance lobby area, then they're in that dance world, which so many times I feel like lets us be more of who we are. It makes us feel more empowered. It makes us feel more free to, I mean, I know I wear things on stage, dance in ways that I would never really feel comfortable doing in quote unquote real world. And
Totally.
so then the other side of the glass is the real world and
Yeah.
like how we function and move in the real world, which is beautiful and lovely, but just so different in so many ways. So yeah, so that's kind of what the inspiration was. And then we had a photo shoot with the dancers that Teresa had picked because she was directing the concert before the semester, like right before the semester started. And we picked out some like she was like, "Oh, remember this costume that we used in Dubois' piece like 2017?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, yeah." And then we kind of like finagled part of that. And then we found something that worked with Kazuma, who ended up being the other dancer. We did the film shoot, and I was like watching the film
Yeah.
shoot happen, or I mean, the video or the
Photos.
photo
Yeah.
session. And I was like, these are costumes, like we're using these costumes, like done. I'm gonna make it work for my dance piece. And then I was like, great. So inside in the lobby, they wore those really fancy, like full on dance kind of costumes,
Yeah.
extravagant, crazy,
Totally.
weird, beautiful, you name it. And then outside, I was like, I wanted it to be muted, grays, blues, whites, really just showing like nothing extravagant,
Yeah.
like an everyday, like just not as crazy
Yeah.
life. And so Kazuma had his cell phone outside because we're all so attached to our cell phones. And Mia had a glass of water, and it was very much, they didn't use them the whole time, but it was just this outside feeling. Now, what's crazy is when I was looking at filming this, they had not done anything to the in-between area between BizTech and the pack. So it was just an open grass area.
Oh, yeah.
So that's when I like had the idea.
Yeah.
Then they put up fences and started doing construction, and I was like, oh crap. Okay. I was like, well, I don't really want it to look construction-y wise. Like, how can I make this work? And then luckily I found out that they were going to finish those outdoor classrooms like in April. Oh, I think it was supposed to be done in February. It was supposed to be done in February, but it ended up being done in April. But I knew I had a little wiggle room. So I was like, okay, we can rehearse and then we can film, and then I'll give myself like at least 2 or 3 weeks to edit and we'll make it work.
Yeah.
And it was behind schedule. They ended up finishing like around April 1st or so when we were at ACDA, and then we came back and filmed it. We filmed it over 2 days from like 3 until 7. But mostly because the dancers were free then, I was free then. It was when the time we kind of had rehearsed.
Yeah.
Ideally, the lighting was not as fantastic as it could because the time change happened. So it would have been fantastic had we were the first Monday after the time change.
Oh.
And I didn't even like think about that, and that greatly affected videotaping through and into the pack because it has like a sealant on it for reflection and sun and exposure and so forth.
Yeah.
So it definitely, there were some challenges with that, but it was set off of those kind of ideas. So we rehearsed for a while for this piece. So they had 4 inside phrases and 3 outside phrases, and then some set, I don't want to say set improv, but for lack of a better word, some very constricted improv
Got it. Mhm.
that was in the windows with certain gestures and things they had to include, but I let them kind of piece it together or be the decider of how things went.
Yeah.
And we had to move a whole bunch of stuff out of the lobby. So like every time we filmed, we like dragged like a plant that was like 8 feet tall out of the way. Like we had to realign everything, and then I had to remember how I did that because we filmed twice. So I took photos.
Yeah, where's everything go?
Yeah, set it up. So that was fun. And then I want to say about halfway through the rehearsal process, I had this like moment of, oh, it would be really cool to use the bowels of the pack they're in the lobby, and then like let's follow them and take them onto stage and like really show that, you know, like that process of like taking something from rehearsal or from another space and into another space. And then I want to say like I think I talked to Christina, costume designer, and she was like, what if you like put them like really on stage? Like, what if they ran out at the end of the piece and that was it? And so then we like tried it and it worked perfectly.
It was so cool.
Yeah. So it was like live piece meets film piece meets live, which I feel like I do that as you've seen in past works, but this was like a total, like a different perspective of just adding film to a live work. It was a film piece that can stand on its own, but can add it in, and the show order worked out where it was able to get it. Just there was everything fell into place. Yeah, because it could have not, and it all worked. So I think it was really truly made to happen.
It would have been lovely even if they hadn't run on stage, but because of using that motion of them running through the hall like that, you're like, it was.
And I will say on the live stream, you will not see that. So just know if you do not see it live, I apologize. But at the end of the dance, when the dancers are on stage, they go on stage, and that last bit they actually ran on stage, and then they actually started the dance over again. Yeah, so they did the first phrase that they did in the very beginning of the film piece on stage, but you don't see that happen in the film. So so it is a little different, but I do feel like the film, you know, stands alone.
100%. It was beautiful. Yeah. It was just exciting because you didn't know
it was exciting and a fun treat for people that could come and see it live.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, you talked a lot about our obviously costumes and where you said about the filming. How did you go about choosing the music?
The music was composed by Michael Wall. So he composed music for me last semester. He is a dance musician. He's based in Utah. I can't remember who gave me his contact information originally, but I worked with him in the fall for my bungee piece and had him because I wanted something that I couldn't find the music for. So for this piece, I also was looking for there to be a variance between the inside world and the outside world. So I gave him times. I was like, okay, we're going to be like inside for 45 seconds, then we're going to be outside for 45 seconds. Then we're going to be inside for a minute and a half, then we're going to be outside for a minute and a half. And then it's going to go like back and forth, and the worlds need to mesh and needs to like somehow resolve. And he's really awesome because I just give him a budget. Like I'm like, hey, this is how much money I have to spend. And then he'll be like, okay, well, I can only like, so this one, I didn't have a lot of money. Yeah. And like, cause I was paying for it out of my own pocket. And I was like, this is how much money I have. Can you even like make this happen? And he's like, okay, well, if I just have this conversation with you and create it, then I can charge you that. But if you want changes to it and you want to like go back and forth, then there'll be additional fees. Yeah. But I was like, it was perfect. Like when he got it. And what's really funny is when I started editing those timings of like 45 seconds, it didn't matter. Like I didn't follow. So I had a plan and then I scrapped it, which is like, I think number one, like with my film work is that I always go in with a plan and I always end up not doing the plan because something speaks to me like this as I'm watching it. I'm like, no, it needs to be this. No, it needs to be like it all ends up telling me what it needs to be. And as much as I like think I have an idea of what it needs to be, it always varies in different ways. So or I don't get exactly what I was envisioning in my mind, and then I see something else that's really cool. So the editing process definitely changes it, which is interesting because I hadn't last semester. I did not edit my film pieces, so I came back to editing and realized that I do think that really makes my artwork authentic, because
Yeah.
as much as I have ideas about it, that's never where it ends up. So when I have someone else edit, it's fun because they get to put their own spin on it, but
Yeah.
it definitely doesn't like see my, vision all the way through in the same way.
When it's the piece from your perspective. When it's your
Yes.
video and you're editing it, you keep it in your own voice, in your own
Yes.
perspective. Yeah. It definitely changes it a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, both of your dancers were very experienced, very talented, but did you do anything specific to display their talents in this piece?
I feel like we did a lot of hard lifts. We did a lift where Mia like flipped upside down on Kazuma, which was great because I was able to film it from above too,
Yeah,
being
it
in
was
the
so
back lobby, so that worked out really well.
Yeah.
We worked on that like the first 3 rehearsals for like a significant, I wouldn't say 3 hours we worked on that lift. This is just a hard lift. I think the great thing was because it was for film, I really had little blocks of movement for them.
Yeah.
And then the big challenge was when they put on the costume, Mia had this like huge half cape dress thing, and that was super challenging with all the lifts. We were like, oh, like I knew it was going to be hard, but it definitely presented more of a challenge.
Yeah.
And then also on filming day, outside, it was freezing cold, windy, freezing, like it was like tornado. Like we were like, what is happening? Kazuma had goosebumps all over his entire body. They were outside for like 4 hours. I had on like 2 hoodies. I was like bundled up, and I felt so bad because they were like we'd stop filming and they're like, so cold, so cold, so cold. And they're like running in circles because it was just so cold out.
Oh, poor thing.
And like the wind was blowing and their hair was blowing, and like there was leaves. Like Cress was there trying to just get some still shots, and she kept like trying to pick up the leaves, and I was like, no, just like we've just got to embrace. So it felt like the outside world almost like ended up being something else too than what I had like envisioned, because I had envisioned a very like, this is the outside world and this is what we do. But it was kind of cool because it created this like, but you don't get to control the outside world either. So there's some really lovely like movement that happened with their costumes, and just like alterations that we had to make things work.
Poor things all cold.
Yeah. And we had to wait for people. I didn't want people in the shot like walking. Yeah. And we were filming on a Monday afternoon, so like we'd like had to wait for everyone to walk by. We'd be like, here comes somebody, okay. And wait,
action.
Because I really wanted it to feel like they were in their own isolated space. If someone was in the, really like far distance, that was fine. But I wasn't looking for, someone to be in our space at all.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It definitely, because you're focused so much on them. It's nice to not have any outside.
Yeah. And I definitely did a lot more close-up shots and dancer perspective shots in this piece, like where I'm shooting over one dancer's shoulder, looking at the other dancer, like the camera's dancing with, and that's something new, but I think it turned out to be really effective. In fact, those were probably like my favorite moments.
Yeah, those are some cool shots. You got, just so many cool shots in it.
Especially and I could have created like a 25-minute piece because I have so much stuff. And special thanks to Cress, because she came both days. She's a like rock star and took so many behind the scenes photos. It was really fun to have all of that archived in that way too.
Oh yeah, of course. Absolutely. Did you do anything choreographically out of your comfort zone?
That's a great question. I don't think I did anything choreographically outside of my comfort zone, but I think what was different was I really choreographed in sections. Like it was like 45 seconds, 30 seconds, 15 seconds. Like there was all these little bits and pieces, and we labeled them and had like, it's a this phrase and it's a that phrase. And in my mind, I had an order in which those were going to kind of like go together. Whenever I'm learning when I choreograph for film that I don't have to worry about transitions. And I'm also learning that I need a lot more what do they call it? B shot, like B-roll type stuff. And I got some for this, but I wish I actually had even more of that. Just to help like cut down so I'm creating more of a place and environment versus just like everything's so dancey. And I am such a dancey dance. I get caught in that. So that's definitely my challenge in film, is like, how can I make it, work? And then camera movement. There's so many things in film. So
Well, I mean, just the way it was shot, and like all of us said, like the second it came on the projector, we were all like amazed at how great the film quality was. Just
Yeah, and it was fully shot on. I
done.
bought a new iPhone for it.
This is an Apple
So it's the
advertisement.
14 Pro, the tiny one though, not the big
Yeah.
one. But the camera on this is fantastic. I shot it in 4K.
Incredible.
I used my like gimbal that I have that's MOVA, MOVI. It's old. I don't even think they sell that anymore, but it comes with an app on your phone to track it.
Yeah.
Christian Robinson, who I've worked with before, had recommended it to me. I've had it for probably 5 years. But it wasn't like I didn't do anything special.
Yeah.
Like there was no special stuff in terms of filming. And it's funny too, because the lighting was so bad for some stuff because of the shadows.
Yeah.
But it ended up working because when I was farther away from them, the lighting was bad. And I was filming towards the windows, but it created a different look in the same space. So it created a silhouette look. So that's one thing I was like, oh, if I ever did this again, I'd want to have more like lighting abilities to like help. But then when I got into editing, I was like, oh, this is gonna be so bad. But then it ended up just it all worked. Like I had to do some color correction, but it wasn't, I was thinking it was going to be a lot worse.
Yeah, you thought you were gonna do every shot was color correction.
Yeah, and some like the outside stuff was all beautiful, like because it was an overcast day too, and overcast days and it kind of was gloomy, which is like what I wanted out there. Like, you know, like it wasn't supposed to be like the best day of the, you know, outside.
Yeah, you wanted a little like.
Yeah, I wanted it to be a little moody, edgy. Yeah.
Because we don't like being in the outside world, we like being in dance world better.
Exactly. That was the point.
Did the dancers have any challenges, or did you have any challenges to overcome? I mean, the weather sounds like a big
The
challenge.
weather filming was definitely hard. Editing, I didn't give myself very much time because of the outdoor space. In fact, they were still working on half of it while we were filming. So like I couldn't film a certain angle because I would get like the guy in like his construction outfit during one of the days. It was like, okay. I don't think the dancers, I think, well, two things. One, it was really hard dancing on the floor of the pack. They have like, it's concrete with like that clear gloss finish. So there were a lot of turns.
Oh, that's hard.
And it was, so those were a little more challenging than I realized because I started realizing that they wore socks a lot in rehearsals.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I definitely would have, like, in the future, if I was going to dance on another surface. Now outside, we always practiced in shoes. So that ended up being just fine.
Yeah.
We were prepped for that. But the inside surface, I think we tested it at one point, but I think it was challenging. And then just for the dancers having to do like every, phrase, they probably did it 20 times.
Oh, yeah.
Like, again, okay, again, oh, okay, again. And I'd be like, last time, then I'd be like, wait, no, never mind, we're gonna do it again. There's things that would happen, like even getting my own reflection in the glass.
Yeah.
Like I'd be like, oh, that didn't work. Okay. And then like I'd be like, wait, Cress, I can see you. Because she was like taking photos, but she was really far away. So you wouldn't have thought. So, or, there's like someone sitting out there on that bench. Like we need to like fix this. And I want this movement to happen. And like this so there was a lot of that. And then I filmed, from above, inside and outside, multiple. So cool. Yeah. So they were tired. Like at the end, particularly the inside phrases, because they were a lot more
technical,
athletic and hard, lots of lifts and things. They were like,
Mia's costume was heavy. Yeah, that was, you put him through it.
Yeah.
You did it.
You definitely had to work hard for it.
Yeah, they looked great. It was worth it.
They did.
And was there anything you'd like to say to any potential student dancers or choreographers who would want to come join our program at IVC?
Well, just like, I guess I'm gonna have to plug dance film. Like if you have any interest in like technology, dance film, like any of that, like this is the place for you. I'm like so excited and hyped up about dance film. Like I'm just like, can we create our own dance festival? What can we do? Like I think we have some student choreographers that are getting into it, and it's just COVID put us back in that direction. I actually started making dance films in like 2001 and then I got away from it, and I feel like it just kind of pushed me back into something that's interesting. But I think there's something really magical about capturing dance on film, and it lives forever, which in the dance world, like we don't get that. Like, I'm sorry, but watching a recorded piece that was performed live is not the same experience. It's great. It's like, especially for all those that were there, it
Yeah.
helps us rekindle that moment. But dance film can live on forever. You know, like, I don't know. I just think about, I was watching recently an old movie that had Tom Hanks in it, and he was so young. And I was like, it's so cool that he has that though, where he can look
Mhm.
back. And so I think it's really cool, even as a dancer, to be able to have that kind of footage when you're 50, 60, 80 and be
Look at me.
this, look at me. And like, this isn't just me on stage being recorded. Like, this is like a dance film, and it has my
Yeah.
face close up and my arm movements and all that cool stuff. So I think it's really a great opportunity for dancers and people that want to create film to capture, you know, bodies moving and archive it in a way that we don't really do in dance.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for answering 6 questions, Jen.
Yes.
And we hope everyone enjoys the other side of the glass.